Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Smith from 𝐬𝐮𝐩𝐸𝐴. In this video, we're gonna create a fully authentication system in Express using Passport, Express Session, and of course TypeScript. Now I have not really planned this video. Actually, this code is a part of my Stack course which I'm currently working on. However, during implementing Passport.js and Express Session, I have faced a few bugs and doubts. I have read a lot of documentation, seen a lot of videos, but nobody clarifies what is the Passport authentication flow and how all this function works. So I thought let's make a YouTube video, Okay, so before I proceed, let me tell you what's the current situation of this app. So I have this basic Express app and then I have this user model. That's a simple mongoose model. This user model has a few users already created, and then I have this simple auth endpoints, this sign up, login, logout me. Don't worry about this controllers function like this sign up, login, logout and me, cause I have not really defined the functionalities. Look at this auth.controller file. Here I have these functions, but I have not defined the functionalities. Cool, let's focus on the authentication part. Let's go to a browser and see the Express Session. So here is the documentation opened. Just go to Google and search for Express Session and click on the first link. Cool. So let's see the documentation first. And by the way guys, here is a tip. If you see this DT after the package name, it means this package is not wrapped with TypeScript. In that case, you need to externally install the types declaration file. And if you see the TS, it means the package comes with TypeScript. Okay, that's a quick tip. And now just scroll down and let's see how to use this. So you can just import the session from Express Session and then you need to use this as middleware. Then you can pass some options. Let's see the options. Scroll down. So first of all, you need to pass a secret. It should be coming from an environment variable that will hash your session ID and then resave false and save uninitialized true. I'll be talking about these options in the practical part. And then this cookie. If you are familiar with cookie, these are the same cookies option. Just scroll down and let's see the options. Here it is. So path HTTP only, secure and max age. Path is set to the root of the domain. It means any page of your client can access the cookie. And then HTTP only true. It means this cookie will not be parsed by JavaScript. This is the most secure option because there might be some extension enabled on your browser that will access this cookie, and you don't want that. It will also prevent the XSS attack. And then secure is false. It means this cookie will be transferable over HTTPS. But in development, it should be false as our localhost is running on HTTP. And then max is null. Again, in development, this is null. In production, you can just set a maximum age. After that, the cookie will be destroyed. Okay, so these are the basic options of cookie. Anything else? No. Let's do this. Just install this package. Also, you need to install the types package. Just go to the terminal. Make sure you're in the server directory and then run npm. We have just copied that, and then end npm I with a deflag as a dev dependency. Just install the types file. So type/express session and let it install, and it's installed. Fine. Just run the server. So npm run dev. Beautiful. Just hide the terminal. Fine. So you need to use this session as a middleware, right? So just go to a middleware folder and create a new file. So let's name this session.middleware.ts. Cool. Let's create a function. The name of the function is session middleware. Then it will get the request, response and next function as a typical middleware. So request should be coming from Express. The type, not import. You can do that. No. Request, response from Express, and next the next function from Express. Cool. Also just export this because I always forget that. So export default session middleware. Cool. Now we need to do some stuff inside this function. So just import the session from Express Session. Import session from Express Session. Cool. And then here I'm going to return the session and pass some values. So first one is secret, and it should be coming from an environment variable. So just go to the env file and create a secret. Okay, so session secret, just random character, whatever you can type. Make this a complex string so that nobody can decrypt this. Okay, now we have the session secret, and now just go to the index.ts. Actually just go to inv.example and put this here just for good practice. Also just go to a types file. Not the types, environment types. Here also put the session secret, and that is a string. Cool. And now just go to the main file, which is our session middleware. Yeah, just pass the secret. So process.env.mySessionSecret. Cool. Just put a comma and then resave, that is false, and then the third option is save uninitialized, which is true for now. I'll be talking about these two options in a minute, don't worry. And then just save this, and we're going to pass the request, response, and next. So this is a higher order function. Cool. So with this it will restore next middleware. Fine. And now we can use this middleware. Just copy this and go to index.ts, and here after this URL encoded, just use this middleware. So app.use and session middleware. Auto import this. Yep. Cool. Just save this. Fine. So basically now if we make a request on our app, it will create a session. So let me just uncomment this dummy route. We're gonna test on this. Cool. Save this. Throw new error, server crash. Just comment out this code, and instead we are gonna return the session ID. So this express session will create a session ID. So instead of this message, just pass session ID, and this will be coming from the request.session. So request.session, or just directly access the session ID, request.session ID. Fine. Let's see. Just go to the Postman. Let's make a new request. Add request. Fine. So this is localhost API/auth, not auth, API/demo, and it's get request. Fine. And click on send. And look at this, I have the session ID, right? Also in the cookie, if you click on this cookie, the option is here, this cookie. Just click here and you can see this connect.sid. Again, if you just remove this and then make a request, look at this, I got a new session ID, and click on cookies and I have this session connect.sid. And also look at all the default options, path, HTTP only, and all. Okay, fine. So that's our session. Now let's talk about those options, the resave and save uninitialized. Let's go to session middleware. Yeah. So if the resave is set to true, it will create a session for every request, even if the request is not modified. So if the request is coming from the same user or same browser, it will create the new session. But we don't really want that. It will just create more load on the server. So this is set to false. And then there is save uninitialized. So if this is set to false, it will only create session if the user is logged in. So as of now, it will create a session every time you make a request. So again, let me show you. Just click on send and go to cookie, and you can see this connection ID. But we only want to create this cookie if the user is logged in. So just change this option to false. Okay. And now remove this session ID, connection the session ID, and then make a request. The session will be created, but there is no cookie. Let's go to cookies and look at this. I don't have the cookie. So you're going to create the cookie using the passport authentication. So just close this. Fine. In most cases, these two options are set to false. Don't worry about those. So yeah, that's all about this express session. In the next part, we are going to introduce passport authentication and do some fun stuff. In the last part, we have added this express session in our app, and in this part, we are going to use the passport authentication to manage this session. So let's see the documentation. Let's go to browser and search for passport documentation, Passport.js documentation. Okay, and then click on this documentation, Passport.js. The best thing about Passport is there are a lot of authentication strategies, like Google authentication, Facebook authentication, GitHub authentication, local strategy authentication. Local strategy means username and password, which we are going to use. Just search for local strategy, local, passport local, click on this. Fine. So you need to install this passport local package, and then how can you use that? Okay, you need to use this inside this passport.use function, which is the passport middleware. Here you need to pass a new local strategy object, and then you need to pass this verify function. So in this function, it will check if your credential is valid or not. If your credential is valid, it will call this done function and pass the user, and if it is not valid, it will call this done function and pass this false. Okay, just scroll down. One thing I want to show you, which is serialize user. This might be in documentation. Just go to documentation, go to general, scroll down. Yeah, I have the serialize user and deserialize user. These two functions are important. Serialize user means whenever the authentication is successful, it will get the user ID and store this inside the session. And then for the subsequent request, it will grab that user ID, and using that user ID, it will get all the details of the authenticated user. Fine, so these two functions are all about that, serialize and deserialize. As I told you, using the ID you can grab all the data of the user and then it's calling the done function and passing the user. Don't bother, you're gonna see this in practical of course. Just learn to read the documentation guys, cause every 10 days there are new libraries, new frameworks are coming, and programming is not about remembering everything. You need to know how to read the documentation. Okay, now let's go to a console and install the packages. Let's go to console, make sure you're in the server directory and then npm ipassport and then passport local. With this also install the dev dependencies. So npm i the types file which is type/passport and type/passport local. Okay, let it install. Meanwhile, let's see the authentication flow of passport. So here is the passport authentication flow. So at first, from the sign in page, I'm gonna post my authentication data, which is my username and password. It will go to this login route using the post method, and then passport is going to call this authenticate function. Inside this authenticate function, it will grab the username and password, and then it will pass this to a strategy verification function. Inside the strategy verification function, it will check if your credential is valid or not. If the credential is valid, it will grab the user and again pass this to the authenticated function. This authenticated function will call the serialized user. Inside the serialized user, it will grab the user's ID and store this in the express session, and then there is a success page. Okay, fine. But if this is not verified, if the credential is not valid, it will return false to the authenticate function and then it will return unauthorized. That's the flow, that's the basic flow. Okay, let's see the console. Something went wrong. Oh, passport local. Spelling mistake, sorry. Passport local. It fast. Meanwhile, just go to a middleware folder and create a new middleware. Let's name this passport. Oops. Passport.middleware.ts. Cool. Libraries are installed. Fine. Close the sidebar. Cool. Just install the passport package. So import passport from passport. Also import the passport local. So import from passport local. Cool. Just import the strategy. You need to rename that. You can rename that, that's optional. So this is local strategy. Cool. And now you need to call the passport.use. So passport.use. Here I'm gonna pass the object of the local strategy. So create a new object, new local strategy. Cool. Here just pass the configuration object. So username field, it means which field you want to use as username. It can be email, username or anything else. So this is username in our case. And then password field, which is of course password. Yeah. After this object, just put a comma, and here you need to pass the verification function. So let's create an anonymous arrow function. Fine. This arrow function will receive 3 parameters. First one is username, second one is password, not passport, password, and the third one is the next function, which is done. Cool. So first of all, I need to check if the user exists or not using this username. If the user exists or not, and then I need to check if the credential is valid or not. If the credential is valid or not. Nice spelling by the way. Credential. Cool. So let's do this one by one. At first, I'm gonna grab the user. So for that I need the user model. Should be auto imported. Yep. So user model dot find one. The function name, find one. Here just pass the username inside this filter, username. Great. It will return me a promise, so just use await. Also I need to make this function asynchronous. JavaScript is beautiful, but my spelling is not async. So let's grab this user, so const user, and now I need to check the credential. Remember in the user model we have created a method, and that is check password or compare password. Yeah, compare password. So I'm gonna call this function to check if the credential is valid or not. And also notice that it returns a promise, boolean promise. Let's go to passport middleware, and here I'm gonna call this user dot compare password. So compare password. Here the first value is entered password, first and only value, so password. Cool. This is giving an error, and that is because it's saying that compare password does not exist. You can just temporarily disable this, comment and then add, then ts ignore. Cool. So it will return me a promise, so just use await. It will be a boolean value. Now here I am gonna check if this is valid or not. If this is valid, or you know what, I also need to check if the user exists or not. So here user and advanced JavaScript. So wrap this await with a parenthesis. Fine. See, if this is true, it means yeah, we are ready to go to next middleware. So done. Just pass null as the error and user. Great. But if it is not, so else just call done, null the error, and instead of the user just pass false. That's it. Save this. Cool. That's my verification function ready. And then I'm gonna create the serialized user and deserialized user. So passport.serialized user, it takes a function. Okay, so the argument, this is user which has a type 𝐼USER. Let me just get the type, not small I Sumit, 𝐼USER, automatically imported. Cool. And the second argument is done. That's my middleware function. Just go inside the function and do some stuff. Inside this function you can define which data you want to store in the session. You can store the entire user object, or the best thing is just store the user.id. Okay, so just call done, and here just pass null first argument and then user.id. Cool. Just save this. Something went wrong here, and that is no overload matches this call. Types of parameter user and user are incompatible. Oh, that might be a passport bug. So any, it should solve the problem. Yeah. So basically inside the passport serialized user function, just go to the source code, and here look at this. The user is express.user, but we have a custom user which is 𝐼USER, so that's why it is incompatible. Anyway, just go to passport middleware. That's not an issue. And then just create the deserialize function. So passport.deserialize. Come on, yep. Again, it takes a callback function. So just pass this. Cool. This function will get 3 arguments. One is a request, which is express request, and then the data which is serialized. So in this case, this is ID, and that is string, and third, the done function, which is any for now. Cool. So in this function, I need to grab the user's object using the user's ID. So this will be asynchronous function. Here again, I'm going to use the user's model. So user model dot find one, or find by ID, faster. Just pass the ID. This will return me a promise, so just use await. Also grab the user, so const user. Cool. And then if everything is fine, just call the done function, pass null as the error and user as the second argument. Just save this. Fine. Now you know what, just wrap this with the try catch. Why not? Because there might be some error while fetching the data. The database might be crashed. Okay, so put it inside the try block, and then say the catch, just call the done function and pass the error if anything goes wrong. That's it. My passport is ready. Now just go to index.ts. You need to add some middlewares. So after this session middleware, you need to initialize the passport. So app.use passport, import this from the file you have just created. Oh, not from the passport package. Just go to the passport file again, the passport.middleware, and here export passport. So export default passport. That's it. Save this, and now just go to index.ts and press Ctrl and space. Why there is no option from the middleware file? Just manually import this. So import passport from @middleware. My VS Code is damn slow. Passport.middleware. Cool. So go to a middleware and passport dot initialize. Just call this, and then you need to call the session. So passport.session. You can use the passport with JWT token also, but we want the session. So passport.session. And now passport gives you a lot of handy functions and properties. So let me show you. Inside this API/demo, just log something like request.isAuthenticated, It means if the user is authenticated or not. This is a function. So save this and go to Postman and make a request to use demo. So API/demo, click on send. You got the session ID. Go to console and you should see false. Yeah, you have this false. So the user is not authenticated yet, right? And now let's try to authenticate this. For that, I'm gonna go to login function. So go to controllers. Yeah, auth.controller. Here inside this login function, let's add the functionalities. So inside this login function, I'm gonna call the authenticate function provided by Passport. So just import Passport again from the middleware. So just go to the top. Yeah, passport.middleware, fine. So passport.authenticate, that's the handy function. Here you need to pass a strategy. So I'm gonna use local strategy, local, and then comma. At the second parameter, you need to pass a callback function. So just pass a callback function. This callback function takes 3 parameters. Again, the error, user, and the information. If there is any additional information, it will get that. First of all, I'm gonna check if there is a user. If there is no user, it means something went wrong. So return response dot status code 401 unauthorized 401 dot JSON. The message is something like, hey, credential invalid, or username and password is not matched. Okay, you might say that, hey, you can check the error here, but there are some problems. In fact, there are some GitHub issues related to that. So if you just check this error inside this if block, it will not really work. Just go to the official Passport GitHub issues and you can see that. Okay, fine. And then if everything is fine, I'm gonna log in the user. So request.login, the function is attached to a request by Passport. So the first value is user and the second value is the callback function that will get the error. So here I'm gonna check the error. If anything goes wrong, I'm gonna throw the error because I have the middleware function to handle the error. We have done that in the setup videos. Okay, but if there is no error, it means everything is good. So response with a status code 201, not 200, 201, and JSON. This is what, just pass the user for now, user. Yeah. Oh, not status code. Come on, status. That's the beauty of TypeScript. Okay, so what we are doing? Basically, inside this index.ts, we're going to initialize these two middlewares. One is the passport.initialize and passport.session. Passport.session is to manage the express session, and passport.initialize is to initialize the passport. So when you make a request to this auth route, this login route, it will call this login controller. Let's go to a login controller. Okay, here it will call this passport.authenticate function. You have passed this local strategy and then some data like what if something goes wrong. If something goes wrong, the message is username and password is not matched, or end. And then if everything is fine, you are calling this login function. So here inside this authenticate function, it will go to this middleware. Here you are passing this local strategy, right? The username field is username, the password field is password, and then inside this verification function, it gets the username and password. This is first getting the user and then compares the password. If everything is fine, it is calling this done function and passing the user. Cool. It's also serializing in this step using the user ID. Nice. Now when this done function is called, it does some internal stuff and also it calls a login. Where's the login? Yeah, here's the login. It calls this login and it responds this with status code 201 and pass the user. That's the whole thing happening. Okay, now just go to Postman and try to log in. Okay, let's create a new request. I need to rename this request. Do that later. Add request. This is login. Call the route. Localhost 4000 /API/auth/login. Yep. Just go to body. I don't remember the data. Let's go to the username is Sumit and password is 123456. Here username is Sumit and password 123456. And now I should be logged in. Let's see. Click on send. Not found. Oh, it's a post request. How on earth can be a GET request? click on send. Okay, something went wrong, I guess. Cancel, and now, yeah, something went wrong. Let's see. So debugging is an important part of coding. That's where you learn. Okay, so I don't see anything in console, but is my login function is called? Let's see. Login, and then just go to this passport middleware. Here I'm gonna call the serialize user. Just log this out. Serialize user. This function should be called. Let's see. Let's make a new request. The server should be running. Yeah, login function is called, but the serialize user is not called. Why? Let's go to auth controller. Oh, I haven't called the next middleware. Wow. So after this authenticate function, where it ends here, yeah, here I need to call the next middleware. So request comma res comma next. Okay, so that it goes to our next middleware. Now just save this. Let's see. Click on send. Yeah, I've been logged in, and now look at the cookies. Click on these cookies. I have my cookie set, and now this cookie will be attached to every request. So you can just go to a demo and click on send, and look at this. I have the cookie attached, but my cookie, right? So yeah, my login is successful. In the next part, I'm going to create the register function and the logout function, and with that we are also going to create a Mongo store to store the session, because as of now the sessions are not consistent. If the server restarts, the session will be recreated, and we don't want that. We need to store the session ID somewhere. Okay, so that's it. See you in the next part. Hey everyone, welcome back. In this part we are going to complete the rest of the passport authentication. So as of now, as you can see, if you just log in, just go to new request, yeah, go to login and login, click on send, and you are logged in, and the serialized user is called, right? But now if we just go to a demo route, this demo route, go to click on send and go to console, you can see this is authenticated is false, and that is because our app does not store the session. So you need to somehow store the session, and for that there are a lot of options. You can use Redis, SQL, MongoDB. We are going to use MongoDB. So for that there is a package called Connect Mongo. Yeah, this one. Just copy this and install the Connect Mongo package. So npm I just copied that. So npm I Connect Mongo. Nice. Let's see how to use this. Yeah, very simple. We just need to create this store and pass these options. Okay, let's do that. This is my import statement. Just copy this, and now just go to a session middleware. My package is also installed. Fine. Go to session middleware. Just close the terminal. At the top, just import the Mongo store, and here inside the configuration option, just pass the store. So store is Mongo store dot create. Yep. Here you need to pass the options. The options means basically the Mongo URI. Okay. So object Mongo URI, and this will be coming from the environment variable. So process dot env dot mongo ops db URI db. That's my TypeScript. Cool. db URI. Save this, and now let's try this again. You might need to restart the server. So just restart the server. npm run dev. Cool. Let it connect to a database. Connected to database. Nice. Just try to log in. Go to login route. Click on login. So I send. Now I'm logged in. Next, just go to the API demo route and click send. Yeah. Just go to console and look at this. Is authenticated is true. In fact, if you just log out the request.user, you should see your user. Just go to index.ts. Inside a demo. After this request.authenticate is request.user. Yeah, let's see this. So click on send. I got the connection ID as the cookie, and look at this, guys. After this true, I have this whole users object. So So it means the deserialize function is called and it got the user. Beautiful. So now just create this register function. Very simple, just go to auth controller and go to register function or sign up function, both are same. Here we are not going to return the user, in fact we are going to call the login function. So just call this login, copy this and put it here. So again, if you call this login function, you will create the session. Just save this. There is an error. User implicitly has any type. We are going to fix that later. So for now, just use that hic, the trick, ts ignore. We are going to fix that in the refactoring part, don't worry. And now at the top we have an error. Let user implicitly has any type in some location where its type cannot be determined. Just make this 𝐼user, why not? 𝐼user. So got imported, cool. And also inside this logit, and also let's create a logout function. This is very hard. This is request.logout. That's it. You can pass a status code. So response.status 204.end. Cool. So again, Passport add this logout function to a request, and you can just call this. And then have this me function. Me means it will return the authenticated user. If the user is not authenticated, it will return null. So if request dot is authenticated, I return the user. So response dot status 200, and the JSON data is my user. Else response with status code 401, not authorized, 4041. Wow. So 401 and JSON user is null. That's it. Save this. Great. Something is wrong here. What is that? Oh, just use any for now. And just mark this as to do. Fix this. Okay. Just focus on the functionality now. We have an error here. User. We don't have the user. We don't have the user. So this is user, and that is request.user. That's it. Just save this and everything's fine. Let's go to a postman. Let's go to a sign up. So first of all, let me just remove the cookie. Let's go to cookie, remove this connection.sid. That's a default name, by the way. You can rename the cookie. Okay, let me just create a new user. So Sumit1, password is 123456, email Sumit1. Click on send. I've created a new user and also I got the cookie. Fine. Next, just create a new request for the me route. So me, this is localhost 4000/API/auth/me, the get request. Lovely, I got the user back. Now let's create the logout. So you can create a new request. This is for logout. The method is delete and the route is logout. Click on send. It should be 204. 204, no content. And now if I just go to a me, click on send, I got null. Beautiful. Now one thing you might have noticed is that I still have the cookie. So basically request.logout removes all the authentication data from the request, but it does not remove the cookie. So to destroy the cookie, you can just use a function. Since this logout, just do something like request.session.destroy. Here you can pass a callback function. So again, the first argument is error. Okay, I'm going to clear the cookie using res.clearCookie. The name of the cookie is connect.sid, I guess. Connect.sid, not connect with 3n, connect.sid, and then response with status code 204. And you can also send something like logged out or all. Logged out. Okay, just save this and now let's see. So let me just log in again. Login. Go to logout. Let me just check if I am logged in or not. Go to body. I have the user. Fine. Go to logout. And now click on send. It should remove my cookie. Look at this. I don't have the cookie. Right. Just go to me and you should get null, and you don't have the cookie. Beautiful. So that's the authentication part ready. I have all the 4 routes ready, and in the next video we're gonna refactor the project. Okay, so see you in the next part. Bye.